Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Prairie Podcast. My name is Andrew Weeb. It's a pleasure to have you joining us today. No matter who you are, whether you're a student at the school, community member, friend of the college, a parent, you found us by accident, we're so excited to have you with us today, and thank you for joining us. Today, we're continuing our series of exploring essays, and we've got the wonderful man Isaac Lafleur with us. Isaac, why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us a bit about who you are, what you're doing here, and we'll jump right into it.
Yeah, my name's Isaac. This is my fourth year at Prairie, and I've been doing the outdoor leadership program at Prairie for the past 4 years, and then the past 2 years I've interned for that program, and just learned a lot about leading it and facilitating the program, and gotten really familiar with it. And yeah, I'm graduating this year.
Oh, that's wonderful. And, I think it's very fitting the type of paper you wrote, seeing how you're in Explore, the outdoor leadership program. It's a very outdoor paper.
Yeah.
The theology of fishing. I think that it was very unique when I first heard about that. I was like, I got to learn more about this. That is cool. So we've got the paper. I've got some questions for you, but why don't you give us the flyby? Give us the general scope of what your paper's about, and then maybe dive into why you even wrote about it.
Yeah. So it started, I had this paper I had to write for this class, and I wasn't sure exactly where I wanted to take it. Um, and I really wanted to write something about I was passionate about, that had a lot of implication on my own life, and something that I was interested in. So I was like, oh, well, I've always wondered about um, fishers and men and what that means, because
Hmm.
I'm a fisherman, and obviously, uh, the way that we fish for fish, you're trying to like entice the fish to come in and trick them per se. And I'm like, well, like that, I don't know how much that uh, concept translates into like evangelism.
Yeah.
So I was always confused about that. So I wanted to dive into it more. And I, through my research and through my own lived experience, other people's experience as well, I've found that I think fishing is a really good metaphor for evangelism. And then it also uh, has a lot of good aspects to it that help develop people and can help disciple people um, into better followers of Christ as
Mhm.
well. Um, and there's a bunch of different character traits and virtues of character that really stand out and are worked on through the activity of fishing.
Certainly. Uh, you know, you kind of open up your paper with this story about the fish that comes in and then you just lose it,
Yeah.
right? And it's devastating. But like you talked about, these stories that you have, these experiences that you have from fishing, or maybe these stories of the imagination, but they're stories a lot of people can understand, have a lot of truth in them. But what's interesting is I believe you jumped instead of right into that imagery, but you actually talked about the experiential aspect of learning, and you spent a good time talking about that. So I'm curious if you can kind of walk through us, give us some of that foundation of what you mean by experiential learning, and what the research you found about that was.
Yeah. So a lot of that uh, research per se, I guess, is from my experience with the outdoor leadership program with Explore. Um, and the basic concept is learning by doing. And then in the Explore program, we have all these different activities we do, like mountain biking,
Hmm.
backpacking, rock climbing, and each of these activities they cater to and grow certain we call them soft skills, um, and soft skills are basically um, virtues of character. So whether it be patience or um, working well in a team, communication, um, all these different character traits are the I guess the goal of Explore, and then
Hmm.
we work towards those different character traits through the experiences and through the activities.
Yeah.
So through my time in Explore, doing these different activities, I've really seen how, wow, okay, yeah, biking and hiking, they're really good for actually forming teams
Hmm.
because naturally, not everyone is going to be able to hike at the same pace. So you're going to have to come together as a group uh, be successful, I guess. And that's just a natural part of those activities. It's going to happen. You're going to have to figure that out. So seeing how these other activities are really they really build and cultivate these character traits.
Mhm.
I looked at my own experience fishing, and I'm like, oh, okay, like uh, what does fishing cater to? And I kind of went from there and found which ones that stuck out to me from my experience, and then um, from the Bible as well.
Yeah, exactly. And maybe that's a good direction to head. I'm curious when you then looked into the Bible and you were looking at some of these stories. We'll talk about some of those virtues following that you really observed. But I'm curious, what were some of the first things that you spotted when you were looking through Scripture when it came to fishing
Hmm.
as a whole?
Yeah. Well, I was wondering, the Bible, it's really explicit in saying that there were fishermen that became disciples, and then there's only a couple others that were mentioned, like what their actual occupation was. So like there was Matthew the tax collector, then Simon the zealot, but then the four fishermen
Yeah.
as well. And I was like, man, like why are they explicit in stating that? Um, and I think there's obviously an aspect to it where they're trying to show how God chooses and He uses kind of people from all different types of backgrounds and occupations. Um, but I think there's something interesting and unique about the fishermen and their characters as well. And um, I think even stories like uh, Peter going out and walking on the water, I think you can just see the trust um, that he had in Jesus and in God in that moment. And I think, and as I get into in my paper, like trusting in God, that's like for me and for a lot of other people, that's a big part of fishing actually, because there's at the end of the day, you can know all your know which lures to use. You can be in the exact right place. You can be at the exact right time
Hmm.
in good conditions and everything. And there's still nothing we can do to actually make that fish come and eat the hook. Um,
Hmm.
it's all in my mind. It's still putting that or the result up to God and just trusting. If I'm gonna catch a fish today, then that's God's will, and He's gonna make that happen. And if it doesn't, then that's okay too.
Certainly, and maybe let's dive into that thought a bit more. As you're talking about these fishers and these fishers of men in the Bible, you mentioned that for them, fishing is their livelihood, right?
Hmm.
But it's interesting. Why did Jesus pick them out, and why is it so clear that it's they're fishermen? And I think you also mentioned that the three inner circle members are all fishermen too. There's something going on here, like you said,
Hmm.
and maybe it's showing some of these virtues, just like that trust in God, right? And how that plays out, that as a fisherman you have to trust God, but also as a follower of Jesus you have to trust in God that He's going to do that.
Hmm.
um so I'm curious, let's talk about some of these virtues, these values that you experientially learn from fishing, but that can translate to faith as well, that we also see some from biblical examples. I know one of the first ones you mentioned was patience.
Hmm.
I'm curious about that one. If you've been fishing, you probably already know this one.
Yeah, that's a bit of a stereotype for sure. Yeah, so patience, obviously, you have to stick it out sometimes. It's not something where you can just go out and catch a fish or expect it to happen right away. Sometimes you're at it for hours. You can go days without catching anything. And so through the experiential side of the activity through fishing, um, you have to you have to cultivate patience. You have to work on that. Um, because if you don't, if you're not patient, then just give up after the first day or the first couple hours type thing, right? Um, and then I think patience um, translates really well into the next virtue of character that I was talking about, which is perseverance.
Yeah.
Um, and perseverance, I think there's a lot to do with not only just sticking it out throughout uh, the amount of time that you're out there for, but it's through sometimes bad conditions, like weather wise.
Hmm.
Um, you have to persevere through trying different spots, trying different lures, um, and without the patience and the perseverance to keep on trying, to keep on getting out and doing it, you won't. There's not even possibility for success. You have to
Yeah.
have those two things first, and then you can maybe have some opportunity to be successful.
Well, exactly.
Yeah.
And I'm curious, what were your thoughts on how that then translated to the Christian walk,
Hmm.
right? I'd be curious about that, with the patience and perseverance. I think we can picture that, but I'm curious if you have some words to clarify that.
Yeah. So I was thinking about that a lot, and um, I think it translates really well. Patience, perseverance. Those are just really good things to have
Mm.
in our lives in general, right? Um, but especially into the actual concept of fishing for men, of
Yeah.
evangelism. Um, you have to like sometimes you have to just put yourself out there and be patient with people. Obviously,
Hmm.
um, you have to go to different areas sometimes to meet people to spread the gospel, um, and it's also not an instant thing with people, right? When we're trying to spread the good news and spread the word, um, sometimes it's years of just talking to people, becoming friends, building relationships, and in the end, this goes back to the trust bit.
Hmm.
Like we can't make that person choose to follow Christ and choose to accept Him. It's still ultimately up to them and up to God to make that fish bite the hook, I guess,
Hmm. Yeah.
in the sense. So
But there is a perseverance, right?
yes,
Yeah.
yeah, persevering through, maybe there's one person that you're like, oh yeah, maybe you just become the church and stuff, but then maybe that person decides to walk a different path, and then you have to persevere through disappointment, through I guess failure in that sense,
Hmm.
and keep on going out and meeting people, trying to spread
Yeah.
the gospel
Exactly.
to other people as well.
Yeah. And then, you talk about failure a little bit. And, you also take that angle as well. You talk about humility and hope
Hmm.
quite a bit as well. And, one of those key things was, the hope amidst the failure. Um, I don't, you mentioned the story about deep sea fishing. I don't know if you'd be willing to share that and kind
Yeah.
of talk about this hope amidst the failure a little bit.
Yeah. Well, I shared a story about deep sea fishing in the Dominican Republic, and that was a really cool moment in my life, in my fishing career, I guess. um, and I thought that story really illustrated what um, hope means in the life of an angler, and then it
Mhm.
translates well into the life of a fisher of man as well. And so there was a couple days that we went out and we're on this big old boat and just hoping to catch something, and a lot of the times there's nothing. The schools of fish are the ocean's
Yeah.
vast, and sometimes you don't find anything. Um, and I was thinking about it, and when you have those bad days and you go out and do it again, it's not because you're not going out and doing it again because you had such a good time in that day where you didn't catch anything. You're going out again with the hope that you're gonna find something better, or that you're gonna have a more successful day, I guess, in that sense. Um, so hope is a really important part of being a fisherman as well, in that, when you're thinking about it like that. Um, because you always just, you need to have, if you don't have that hope, that the next day could be different, could be better, then why would you go out again
Exactly.
in
Yeah.
in the first place? Um, and then the other aspect you mentioned there, the humility. Um, I think fishing um, teaches us a lot of humility as well, especially when we have those really good, successful days.
Yeah.
And that, going back to the Dominican and my deep sea experience, we had a couple days that were just phenomenal. We went out, and yeah, all of a sudden, just we have 5, 6 rods that are on this vessel, and all of a sudden, all of them just all go at the same time, and we're running around. All our guides are running around too, trying to grab rods, trying to reel them in, and then it's just chaos, right?
Yeah.
Um, and and then back to the humility aspect. When you have those days, when you have a lot of success, a lot of fun, you catch a lot of good big fish. It's really easy to think, oh, I'm such a good fisherman, right? I did all this stuff. I did all I did everything right. So I'm super good myself
Hmm.
at this. But it's really important, and especially in those days, to just remember to give it all up to God. This is still Him working through this experience, working to bring the fish in the end, because there's nothing I can do to control that, to bring them in and eat the bait or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, so it teaches a lot of humility.
Exactly. And we know that hope and humility are very important for our walk as well, right? We need hope to keep going forward,
Mhm.
right? And humility in the walk, once again reminding ourselves that God is the one who is beneath it all. You want to use your deep sea and the deep parts. He's the one that's working it out, right?
Yeah.
And so we need to have a humility understanding who's the one working it out, and a hope that um, the next day will be better, but also a greater hope in Christ, right?
Hmm.
I don't know if you've got any further thoughts about that, but even in being fishers of men per
Hmm.
se.
Um, Sorry, could you rephrase that
Do
question?
you have any more thoughts about that aspect, of understanding humility and hope when it comes to being fishers of men
Mm,
specifically?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it translates really well. There's, like I was saying before, we can't control whether people are gonna um accept the gospel, or we can't even control that we can, you know, build relationships, or um interact with people in any sort of way. And there's a lot of days where, whether it be friends and relationships we already have with people, and we're, trying to just speak truth to them, and tell them about Jesus, or if we're out on the streets preaching in that way, there's a lot of days that aren't going to go the way that we want them to go. So hoping for those other days um, where we can spread the truth, and people can see Christ, and accept Him. Hoping for that is a huge part of our walks, and a huge part of fishing for men as
Yeah.
well. Um, yeah, without that hope, like I said, like um,
Why do you keep going,
why
right?
would you keep going? Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Well,
uh, it's essential.
yeah, it is certainly. Well, Isaac, I really appreciate you just coming and sharing a bit about your research, your experience. I think there's some fascinating things for us to learn. Um, the one thought I've been having as you've been talking about this is how many things in Scripture could we come to understand in a greater depth if we just went and did it ourselves, right? Fishing. Um, you can think about it, you can picture it, but if you even went fishing once, you probably would have a great understanding of exactly what you're talking about right here.
Hmm.
Um, Which is just an interesting thought, maybe a challenge for all of us. Is there something that we're reading about in scripture that maybe we can go experience to get a greater understanding of? I don't know. It's a
Hmm.
curious thought. But I'll pass it over to you one more time. Do you have any final words you kind of want to sum this all up? And is there something that you'd like to just share to conclude what we've talked about today?
Yeah, maybe on that thought that you just had. Um, I think there's just a lot. There's a lot for us to learn and a lot of ways for us to develop experientially, I guess. And I guess some people might think, oh, okay, so if I go out and I fish or if I do whatever, I'm gonna have these things just naturally bestowed on me. Um,
Yeah.
but there's that's certainly not the case. There's a an aspect to it where being intentional about seeking those growth opportunities is really important. And then I got there's a lot of reflection that goes into it as well. Just seeing what happened, what did I learn, and then bringing that and applying it to other areas of life. Um, so it's not immediate. You're not gonna go and do something and then just, oh, okay, I'm super good at this now.
Yeah.
I'm super patient, super perseverant. It's practicing it a
Yes. Okay.
lot,
Yeah.
and um, and then reflecting on it and processing it as well.
Certainly. Well,
Hmm.
thank you for sharing that advice there, Isaac. Thank
Hmm.
you for sharing about everything you talked about today. We appreciate the time, your research as well. It's a good challenge for us to go out and to persevere to do some of these activities, but then to think about what it truly means to be a fisher of men. Thank you, everybody, for listening today. Of course, if you want to learn more about prayer, you can head to our website, www.prairie.edu. Uh, I encourage you, go fishing. The summer's coming up. It'll be a good time to do it. Thank you so much, and thank you, Isaac.
Thank you.